don't know where my son is. No one can tell me where my son is. If he's been shot, if he's dead, no one knows.
Chaos and heartbreak as terror comes to Florida. Dozens killed, dozens more injured.
It's sickening. It should make every American angry.
One gunman opened fire at an Orlando club, carrying out the most deadly mass shooting in U.S. history. Tonight, we try to cope with the pain, understand the incomprehensible, and respond, giving blood and prayers.
Say a prayer for them. Say a prayer for their families. That God give them the strength to bear the unbearable.
Tonight, 8 on Your Side team coverage of the massacre in Orlando.
And good evening, I'm Jennifer Lee.
I'm Keith Kay. Thank you for joining us. Here is what we know at this hour. This attack came in the early morning hours at the Pulse Orlando nightclub. 50 people now confirmed dead, 53 injured. Police say 11 officers and 3 deputies opened fire on the shooter, killing him. That shooter, his name, Omar Mateen. He was an American citizen who lived in Fort Pierce and worked as a security guard. His ex-wife says he was abusive and beat her repeatedly. Mateen had purchased at least 2 firearms legally within the past week or so. The FBI had investigated Mateen back in 2013 and again in 2014, but he was not under surveillance last night.
We have team coverage tonight. Let's go to Lindsay Mastis, who's been on the scene all day long. And Lindsay, we are now learning the names of some of those victims.
That's right. So far, we know the names of 4 of the victims, but there still are families standing by, wondering if their loved ones are among the 50 dead inside Club Pulse, which is a couple of blocks from here. Others are in the hospital, many in critical condition. We now know from police the gunman is 29-year-old Omar Mateen. The FBI told us that he called 911 before opening fire so he could pledge his allegiance to the leader of ISIS. He began shooting at 2 in the morning, and at one point it became a hostage situation. A SWAT team finally took him down and rescued about 30 people. Now, this all happened at Club Pulse, which is a gay club, and the gunman's father revealed to NBC News that Mateen recently became outraged after seeing 2 men kiss. The president today calls this tragedy an act of hate and terror, and now this community, this city, is in mourning.
This is probably the most difficult day in the history of Orlando.
Anyone who attacks our LGBT community, anyone who attacks anyone in our state will be gone after to the fullest extent of the law.
I'd ask for all the citizens of the United States to have a moment of silence at 6 p.m. Eastern Time tonight to mourn the loss of life and also pray for those that are still fighting for their life.
That moment of silence happening just minutes ago. Now, this is a live look at Club Pulse. You can see the sign outside of the club with a lot of first responders all around. Governor Rick Scott did call a state of emergency for Orange County, which includes Orlando. But according to the FBI, they are stressing right now that there are no known threats at this time. Jen and Keith, back to you.
Lindsay Mastis reporting live for us from Orlando. Thank you, Lindsay. And tonight, the families of the victims are trying to come to terms with this nightmare. As you can imagine, they are devastated.
Melanie Michael, our reporter, is live from the Hampton Inn in Orlando, right across from the Orlando Regional Medical Center, where some of the injured victims are still tonight. So, Mel, we understand you've actually spoken to some parents. I'm curious to hear what they had to say.
We have, Keith and Jen. Good evening to you both. I want to bring you a very sobering live picture of what's going on at this hour. This is raw emotion and pure grief that we are witnessing right now. Family members have just found out that some of their loved ones were, in fact, in the club last night. And it is just gut-wrenching to watch the reactions, to hear the screams and the sobs of those who have lost family members and loved ones. This is the family briefing center right across the street from the hospital. And again, some of these relatives are just learning of the loss after last night's experience in the club. She begged for help in finding her son.
I've just been trying all morning, so I can't find him. So please just keep us in your prayers, and hopefully this madness could stop. 'Cause I don't know what else to say.
33-year-old Tony Marrero was celebrating his birthday Saturday night at Pulse. His parents haven't heard from him since.
We're just looking for a son.
That's your son?
Yeah, and we haven't heard from him. So we're just doing what everyone else is doing.
He works at Universal, and I'm just hoping we find him. That's all I want. I don't mean to be mean, but my main concern right now is to find him. So please, bear with me. Let me go inside. I need to get inside. Nobody's giving me no information.
Families and friends were devastated as they anxiously asked questions, fearing the answers.
So right now we're about to find out more information on possibly him.
I don't know nothing. Was he here, alive or dead? I don't know nothing.
How is your...
No, my heart is... I'm so sad.
Love your loved ones. They're not always promised to be here another day with you. I was holding my best friend's hand, and he told me, don't let it go. And I said, we're going to get out of here. So I'm here now.
And I can tell you, Jen and Keith, this is one of the most gut-wrenching and heartbreaking experiences that I have ever witnessed. Watching these family members find out at the exact moment that we were standing here that their loved ones will not be coming home. Again, this is a family briefing area where they have come to get more information and to try and get all of the details that they can. And again, just moments ago, I mean, these are live pictures of family members that are trying to leave the facilities and make whatever arrangements they can. But we are witnessing raw grief and emotion as we speak, and it is one of the most heartbreaking scenes.
I can't recall seeing that many people in one spot like that. You say it's a family briefing area, but it really is a family grieving area. Hopefully they can share some support with one another. But as you said, so difficult to watch. Thank you for that report. Melanie Michael reporting live for us tonight.
And tonight we are also learning a lot more about the shooter.
Let's go right now to Rod Carter. He's in Fort Pierce. This is where the shooter lived. What can you tell us about this guy, Omar Mateen?
Hey, good evening, Keith and Jen. Just a few moments ago, the FBI, Indian River County Sheriff's Office, as well as the Fort Pierce Police Department all held a briefing just down the street. They wanted to just update the media on what was going on, and quite frankly, not a lot going on right at this very moment. They wanted to let us know that all updates would come from the FBI. Now, as you mentioned, Omar Mateen lived right here. He lived in this apartment complex in apartment number 107. And we're learning a lot more about him this afternoon. A lot of information pouring in about Mateen. The latest is we know he called 911 before that shooting and pledged his support to ISIS, although his father told NBC News that his son was angry after seeing two men kissing months ago in Miami. People who live in this area, though, are very shocked by this entire situation. This is the suspect, Omar Mateen. He posted all of these photos on MySpace. Mateen lived here at this apartment complex in Fort Pierce, but was born in New York. According to his ex-wife of just a few months, he worked as a security guard at a facility for juvenile delinquents. She says she left him because he was abusing her.
It hasn't really sunk in fully yet, I don't think.
Across the street from Mateen's apartment complex on South 17th Street is Robert Shepard's home.
Disbelief, you're baffled, like, are the numbers going to keep going? You know, is it going to get higher? Like, is that where it stops at?
He and his girlfriend still stunned today by what happened. They knew people who had planned to be at Club Pulse last night.
I had a lot of friends that were supposed to go to that club and didn't go, had car trouble.
Shepard doesn't know the gunman, although he lives just across the street. He was surprised when he saw so many law enforcement and media staged outside of his home. He has questions.
The thing that got me was he alone? Did he live there alone? Did he do this by himself?
And the biggest question of all, that everyone wants answered, is why. Robert is angry that we may never know because Mateen is dead.
That's a shame. That's shame. I mean, because who do you talk to now? You know, who gets tried for this? Who's to blame for this?
Again, the FBI taking the lead in this case, but the Sheriff's Office and the Fort Pierce Police Department are also here. We understand a bomb squad is here. They have not gotten a warrant to go inside of Mateen's apartment just yet. They're still waiting on that. They have been here since the early morning hours. Just a couple more things that we learned about him. We learned that the FBI did investigate Mateen a couple of times in the past, once in 2013, once in 2014. The first case was because of some statements, inflammatory statements that he made to coworkers about possible ties to terrorists. And also, we know that he has worked for a company called G4S. He's been there since 2007. He does have 2 firearm licenses, one for a security officer and statewide firearm license. Both of those are set to expire in September of next year. Jen?
Well, Rod, we appreciate your live reporting. We know you're going to stay on this for 11, and we look forward to hearing more about what they are able to find once they do get that warrant to go into his apartment. So thank you, Rod Carter, reporting live for us tonight.
And all of this just coming together in little bits and pieces. The FBI, again, as Rod mentioned, they're acknowledging at some point today that they've been investigating Omar Mateen since 2013, again in 2014. For making these terrorist threats and having terrorist ties. News Channel 8's Jeff Patterson is in Orlando tonight with that part of the story. And I know you've been looking a little bit closer into this terrorism angle for us tonight. What have you learned, Jeff?
Yeah, good evening, Keith. We did learn tonight from the FBI that Omar Mateen has been interviewed several times personally by FBI special agents dating back to 2013. But they had closed the case on Mateen because they were never able to directly tie him to a crime or to an act of terrorism before today.
This was an act of terror and an act of hate.
The president told the nation he is directing the FBI to spare no effort to determine if Omar Sadiq Mateen has any ties to known terror organizations. But the FBI acknowledged this afternoon they've been investigating Mateen since 2013 for making terrorist threats.
The FBI first became aware of Mateen in 2013 when he made inflammatory comments to coworkers alleging possible terrorist ties.
The FBI revealed they put Mateen under surveillance, interviewed witnesses, even interviewed Mateen twice, but closed the investigation when they could not directly link him to a terrorist act. The FBI investigated Mateen again in 2014, suspecting him of having a tie to an American terrorist bomber, but closed that investigation as well. Is there any doubt in your mind that this was an act of terror?
No, I have no doubt in my mind.
Senator Marco Rubio told me lone wolves like Mateen are a dangerous threat to national security.
The homegrown violent extremist is the toughest terrorist target we've ever had in the history of this country. These are people that often don't even travel abroad. They're radicalized online. They may say a few things to some people, but not enough to do anything about it.
Yeah, the FBI revealed today that Mateen purchased the firearms that were used in this morning's early attacks recently. But because even though they had been investigating for these terrorist ties, since he had not committed a crime, since he had not been directly linked to terrorism, they didn't have a criminal case against him. And so he was legally allowed to buy those firearms. By the way, we have just learned that the Orlando authorities have now identified a total of 6 victims. And of course, that total will go up as the days go by.
Yeah, all the way to 50 and all of the 53 who've been injured as well. And we're going to learn so much about this guy, Mateen. Thank you, Jeff, for that. Now, as the country mourns this mass shooting, we're also remembering some of the other mass shootings that devastated the U.S. Prior to what happened in Orlando, the most deadly mass shooting took place on the campus of Virginia Tech back in 2007. 32 people were killed there. 27 died in the Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting in 2012. 20 of those killed were children, little kids, 6 and 7. And 23 people were killed in Killeen, Texas, when a man drove his pickup truck into a restaurant and opened fire on customers back in 1991. Of course, Tampa is standing with Orlando tonight. News Channel 8 spoke with Mayor Bob Buckhorn about the massacre in Orlando, and here's what he had to say about it.
You don't have to live in Orlando to recognize the magnitude of this tragedy, the violence that was inflicted on people who were there just to have fun. We're all Floridians, and we're all Americans, and we're all citizens of Orlando right now.
He also said the city sent multiple police officers, including the police chief, to Orlando.
We continue our team coverage at the hospital where dozens of injured victims are recovering tonight. Jamel Lene is live from Orlando Regional Medical Center. Jamel, I can only imagine what the scene is like there with friends and family trying to get additional word.
It's just been very heartbreaking. Within the last 10 minutes, we've seen several people walk out crying. People still here right now with their head down, just trying to figure out, what they're going to do that next. What are their next steps? Very upset, obviously. But again, on the other side of this, so many people are thanking law enforcement and the first responders and the hospital staff that are working here tirelessly tonight, still working with that critically injured.
Law enforcement and emergency responders are being hailed as heroes, saving the lives of others as SWAT put a stop to Omar Mateen's massacre at Pulse nightclub in Orlando Sunday. Orlando police say first responders rescued 30 people from inside. Other officers put down the guns and put on gloves, rushing as many people as they could to hospitals in trucks and squad cars. 53 people rushed to nearby emergency rooms so far. Nurses and doctors taking on the mass that are critically injured, and families speeding to the hospital for any word of their loved ones.
Everybody's out there doing what they're supposed to do.
Barón Serrano still hasn't heard from his brother, Juan, who was at the club last night. A staff member doing what she can to ease his agony.
Thanks God, you know, one of the ladies who works there did a favor for me. She grabbed my phone with his picture, walked around all over the 4th floor, and there's nowhere to be found.
Governor Rick Scott saying law enforcement will come after anyone involved in any terrorist acts in Florida.
Anybody that's thinking about doing something like this in our state, our justice is swift, our penalties are severe. We have a great law enforcement team, and we're going to do the right thing.
Now, again, family members, they are asked to go to the Hampton Inn. It's just a block away from the hospital, and wait for updates there.
Jamel Lene live for us at Orlando Regional Medical Center. Thanks, Jamel.
Of course, this is a big national story. It's not just local. It's not Orlando. It's the nation tonight. We're talking about terrorism, and help is on the way to Orlando tonight.
Coming up after the break, how people in Tampa are showing support for the victims injured in the massacre in Orlando. We'll be right back. All over Florida and throughout the Tampa Bay area, people lined up at blood banks in the wake of this horrific massacre.
Everybody wanting to help, and many felt it was their civic duty to step up. As investigators continue to work the awful crime scene at the Pulse nightclub, blood banks put out an urgent need for type O blood donations. And across the state, people responded.
When something like this happens here, everybody as Americans, I think, should step up and do what they have to do.
In fact, blood banks all across the Tampa Bay area began to be overwhelmed as the day went on.
Somebody did it for me back in 2012, and I just want to do the same in return for somebody else and help them.
Some blood banks reported at least an hour wait. Others had people waiting in the rain. Many woke up with the news and immediately felt a need to do something.
Why do you think people should step up in times like this?
Well, that's what you need to do. Put a little you in the USA. Let's practice what you preach.
And blood centers are still asking if donors can continue to come in over the next several days.
Hundreds are expected to gather tonight at a vigil in Ybor City. Local churches and LGBT activists are calling the community to stand in solidarity with the victims' families during this terrible tragedy. News Channel 8's John Rogers joins us now live from Ybor. And John, this starts at 7:45, right? So what do people need to know?
Yeah, it starts at 7:45, expected to last for a couple hours. We're here over at the Metro Wellness and Community Center on 7th Avenue in Ybor City. Many people over here really touched by this terrible tragedy. Just moments ago, a man set up this makeshift memorial here. Ybor City is well known because of its nightclubs and its organizations here as a supporter of the LGBT community. And the Pulse nightclub is a very well-known nightclub, and so many were touched by this. The Facebook group online that organized this says that a few hundred are expected to be coming to this, so we'll definitely be here to go cover it. Tampa Police, they will be here to provide security as well. And I just heard not too long ago from an official from Tampa Pride that if you can't make to this event tonight, there will be another vigil in the same, frankly, just a block away here at 7 o'clock tomorrow. And so we'll be here this evening covering this for you, and we'll have more in later newscasts on air and online.
All right, John Rogers reporting live for us from Ybor City tonight. Looking forward to your report tonight at 11. Thank you, sir.
And horror and heartbreak in Orlando's gay community tonight as well.
Coming up, how the city's LGBT Center is seeing an incredible outpouring of support from across the country tonight.
Orlando's gay community is in utter shock after falling victim to the worst mass shooting in U.S. history. News Channel 8's Chip Osowski is joining us live tonight from the LGBT Center in Orlando. Chip, all across the nation tonight, you have these LGBTQ groups expressing immense heartbreak over what's happened, and rightly so. It's just awful.
It is absolutely awful, Keith, and Orlando's LGBT community has seen an incredible outpouring of support. And let me show you, this right here is the hub of all the activity.
All day long, the food,
Water and other supplies have been literally pouring in to the LGBT Center in Orlando. Those in the community doing what they can to help.
We decided, you know what, we really need to do something for the community because it's such an awful tragedy. So
it's our community. We all have to stick together. And it's great that so many people want to help and everything at this time of need.
Dozens gathered to watch the news reports, hoping for any additional information or insight as to what happened. The worst mass shooting in U.S. history happened here. Incredibly hard to stomach for the city known for its tourism, hospitality, and acceptance. Members of the LGBT community now in shock, knowing the worst news may be on the horizon.
Law enforcement hasn't released the names of the victims yet. So there is probably a 100% likelihood that once that list of names comes out, many people in this building right now are going to be affected and impacted by that.
And there are counselors here for those who need someone to talk to. And again, the outpouring of support from the community has really been unbelievable. This center is acting as a distribution point. Basically, the donations are being brought here and then sent to other locations, hospitals and other places where the victims' family members are waiting for any news. Keith.
Chip Osowski reporting live for us tonight. Thank you, Chip.
And we will have a check on the weather when we return. Well, here's a quick recap of everything that we know so far.
Yeah, the attack came in the early morning hours in Orlando at this Pulse nightclub. 50 people killed, 53 injured. Police say 11 officers and 3 deputies opened fire on that shooter, killing him. The shooter's name we now know is Omar Mateen. He was an American citizen. He lived in Fort Pierce, Florida, and he worked as a security guard. His wife said he was abusive. I mean, a lot more we're going to learn as the evening goes on about this guy.
Certainly. NBC Nightly News is next. They will have complete coverage, and you can join us on Great 38 at 8 o'clock tonight. And then we're back here tonight after Stanley Cup hockey, 11-ish, with more on the massacre from Orlando. Have a good night.
Good night.